The Islanders struggled for large portions of the game, but they found a way to get past the Columbus Blue Jackets in overtime. We have our key takeaways from that contest, plus a preview of tonight's game against the Ottawa Senators. And has Sebastian Aho found his way? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could join us today and be part of the Locked On Islanders family. And thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Lots to discuss on today's show. But first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question you'd like to ask, a comment on something we discussed, or a topic that you'd like us to talk about on an upcoming show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever it is that's on your mind. You could also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings, and I am live streaming during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for instant insight and analysis, and it's always great to interact with Islanders fans, game time or anytime. So please do feel free to get in touch. Islanders down the Columbus Blue Jackets at the UBS Arena Saturday. It wasn't a pretty game, but you take the 4-3 win. And there were some great signs in this game and some others that were troubling. Let's start with the troubling. What is with this team and slow starts? It is getting to the point where it is too much of a pattern to ignore. And, you know, this was a scoreless first period. But if it wasn't for Ilya Sorokin, it would easily could have been a lead for the Blue Jackets. And even though they weren't behind at the end of the first period, the Islanders played a sluggish, playing down to the quality of the opposition kind of a period. And it just seems like, you know, if there's a 7:30 start to these games, the Islanders don't wake up till 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you can't have that. You got to be ready in the National Hockey League to take on whatever team it is you're taking on, because good teams, really, you're not going to win that many games falling behind and trying to desperately crawl back into it. Yes, the Islanders did it against Colorado, Calgary, and the Rangers, but that's not a sustainable model for winning hockey games consistently. And the other part of it was that through the first 40 minutes of this game, the Islanders just weren't creating a heck of a lot of offense. Eventually they did, and that was certainly good. And they got a lot of high quality scoring chances later. But, you know, initially, it just looked sluggish and the passing wasn't crisp. Now, by the third period and overtime, the team overcame this. And, you know, they really did have some highlights in this game. Let's start with Brock Nelson, who not only had 2 goals and was a +2, but had 10 shots on goal. Keep in mind, that's more or less what Josh Bailey gets in 12 games. Great performance by Brock Nelson. No, not so much of a Brocktober, but Brockvember, really sort of a thing this year, as Nelson has been red hot, and really great to see he and Anders Lee and Anthony Beauvillier have great shifts and play as well as they did. The 2 goals for Nelson with the 10 shots really Great to see Zach Parise get the game-winning goal in overtime. And, there was a delayed penalty. He got a nice pass from JG Pageau and was able to finish it off before the delayed penalty was called. Fantastic play and a saver for the Islanders, where this was a sloppy game for the most part, and yet they still got the 2 points. Scott Mayfield, got to give credit to Mayfield for the offense that he's playing and the way he's jumping into the play. A 2-point night for Scotty Mayfield, a goal and an assist, another +2, 4 shots on goal. You just get the feeling Scott Mayfield knows what he's doing. And, so much of Lane Lambert's system is based on the idea that the defensemen are going to step up whenever possible and get into a play when they can without taking too big of a risk. Scott Mayfield, I think, knows as well as anybody how and when to take those risks and get, offense produced without sacrificing defense and getting caught up ice and creating an odd man rush the other way. So far, very nice early season for Scott Mayfield. And then one player I think we definitely needed to talk about, Sebastian Aho. 2 assists, 2 shots on goal, and a +3. And Aho really getting the job done against the Blue Jackets. Now, look, I am not going to say that I am sold on Sebastian Aho as the long-term solution as the team's 6th defenseman. But offensively, he certainly provides a lot. He's good on the power play. He has a decent shot. He has good vision and passing skills. The concern about Aho is defense. And yet, it wasn't so big of a concern against Columbus. His defense was solid, as indicated by the +3 ranking that he had in this game. And, kudos to him he seems very comfortable. He seems a lot more confident. Yeah, he was dead last among the Islanders' 6 defensemen in ice time with 15 minutes, 12 seconds, but he played well. He gave them some jump. He got into the plays, and he's making some pretty plays as of late. So, credit to Sebastian Aho and getting his first 2 assists of the year and just playing a solid game against the Blue Jackets. And the last 2 or 3 games for Aho, certainly he has played better. Another shout out definitely going to Ilya Sorokin, 26 saves in 29 shots. Can't say that, percentage-wise, the .897 save percentage, not elite territory, but at the same time, you just sort of have to give credit to him for keeping the Islanders in this game when the team in front of him was kind of playing a little bit sloppy and just not really being effective for large stretches of this game. And yet Sorokin keeps them in it until the Islanders were able to take advantage of a Blue Jackets defensive core that was depleted by injuries and got the game-winning goal. This was not a great performance by the Islanders by any stretch of the imagination, but you know what? Good teams win games, a nice amount of games, when they're not playing their best hockey. And the Islanders were able to do that. Got to play better to win consistently, but the Islanders get the 2 points. They needed the 2 points, and now they head out onto the road for a road trip that is going to challenge this team, to say the least, and hopefully they will be able to respond. The road trip starts tonight in Ottawa, and we will have a full preview of that game. Keep in mind, it's a 5:30 p.m. Eastern time start in Ottawa. Not sure why the early start time, but, rush home from work if you need to try to catch that Islanders game. Then the road trip continues in Nashville, Dallas, and Toronto. So some challenging opponents upcoming for the New York Islanders. We will have a preview of tonight's game in Ottawa, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, and a whole lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at SimpliSafe. If you've thought about securing your home with home security, but you've been putting it off, you'll want to listen up, because right now, Locked On Islanders listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you won't want to miss it. In an emergency, SimpliSafe has 24/7 professional monitoring agents using Fast Protect technology, which is exclusively from SimpliSafe. It captures critical evidence and verifies that a threat is real, so you can get a priority police response. And don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/LockedOnNHL. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Thanks again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. So the Islanders head on the road, 4-game road trip getting underway, and it starts at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Again, make note of that start, against the Ottawa Senators. And the Senators ended a losing streak on Saturday with a 4-1 win in Philadelphia, but this is a team that has been struggling before that. And the Islanders, again, have to hope that they can sort of take advantage of the struggles, and the big struggle for Ottawa more than anything else, because there is a lot of talent on this team, but it's been more of a defensive struggle than an offensive struggle. They're ranked 12th in the league in goals for, with 49, but 21st in goals against, also with 49. So even though Ottawa is 5-8-1, their goal differential is dead even. And they are certainly capable. You've got some talented players on this roster, that names that hockey fans are familiar with, like Brady Tkachuk, Claude Giroux, Alex DeBrincat. These are guys that can put the puck in the net, can create plays, and are dangerous with the puck. Defensively is where they're struggling. Their starting goalie is Anton Forsberg. He has a 3-6-1 record, a 3.60 goals against average, and an .899 save percentage. So Forsberg struggling right now. Cam Talbot has gotten some play as the backup, but Talbot overall better statistically. In 3 starts, he is 1-2-0, a 2.35 goals against average, and a .925 save percentage. Now, it'll be interesting to see who the Senators go with in goal. Cam Talbot played in that win over Philadelphia on Saturday, and he made 37 saves in 38 shots. So Talbot is the hot hand, but do they go back to him on back-to-back games, or do they go back to Anton Forsberg? Claude Giroux right now, second on the team in goals. Shane Pinto leads the team with 8. Brady Tkachuk, 19 points, including 13 helpers. That makes him dangerous. Pinto, by the way, also leading the team with 3 power play goals. And the power play right now, 10th in the league. Not bad for Ottawa. The penalty kill right in the middle at 17th. And an interesting thing about the Senators, they are the best shooting team in the National Hockey League. They have the best shooting percentage, or shot percentage, out of all 32 teams. And that is, again, something I expect that Semyon Varlamov is likely to be the Islanders goalie. but the shooting percentage, 10th in the league for Ottawa, not first, excuse me, but solid, and they are a dangerous team. You look at this lineup, top line, Tim Stutzle centering Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux. Derek Brassard, New York area hockey fans familiar with him. Islander fans certainly familiar with him. He's centering the second line with DeBrincat and Drake Batherson on his wing. Shane Pinto, the third line pivot, Tyler Mott to his left, Matthew Joseph to his right. And then the fourth line, Mark Kastelik with Parker Kelly and Austin Watson flanking him. Thomas Chabot and Jacob Bernard Docker are the top defense pair. Former Islander Travis Hamonic in the second pair with Jake Sanderson, Eric Brandstrom, and Nick Holden, the third unit on defense. And then Cam Talbot and Anton Forsberg are the goalies. Josh Norris and Artem Zub on injured reserve, not likely to play against the Islanders. Look, the Islanders in this game can't let that top line of Ottawa beat them. And what we saw against Columbus by the Islanders is sort of more of an offensive blueprint in the fact that the Islanders had 46 shots on goal against Columbus, and a lot of them were quality chances from the high danger area. The keys to winning this game: don't let Ottawa's first line beat you. Don't let them have time and space in the neutral zone. Get more pucks to the net. Take advantage of the shaky team defense of the Ottawa Senators. And then the other thing, from an Islander standpoint, don't get off to another slow start. If you give Ottawa an early lead, that is dangerous because they are so dangerous offensively. And the thing you want to make Ottawa do is take chances. You want them to be behind and take chances, and then you will get a lot of quality scoring opportunities the other way against this talented but young still in a lot of places in the lineup Senators team. So get the defenseman pinching at the right time, put pressure on the goal, and if you can take that early lead, it really sets the Islanders up for a good way to play this game. You don't want to have to come from behind like the Islanders are doing too often. Defensively, one problem the Islanders had against Columbus was the transition game, getting the puck out of their own zone and transitioning to offense. They didn't do it well. They have to do a better job of it. And hopefully that is one of the things that Lane Lambert works on this team with, and they straighten out before this, I'm going to say, late afternoon / early evening game against the Ottawa Senators. We have got more to get to on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. We have our Islanders birthday of the day, a goalie from the early 1990s who played a big role on this team and who really has an inspiring story. If you look at what he's done in his life and some of the obstacles that he overcame. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more next on the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Have a feeling about tonight's Islander game in Ottawa? Check out the latest odds at betonline.net. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Time now for our Islanders' birthday of the day. And Sunday was the 54th birthday of former Islanders goalie Mark Fitzpatrick, the Toronto, Ontario native, drafted in the second round by the LA Kings in the 1987 NHL entry draft, made his NHL debut with LA in the 88-89 season, but was dealt to the New York Islanders before that year ended and stayed with the Isles through the 92-93 season before joining the Florida Panthers in 93-94, played for Florida, Tampa Bay, Chicago, and Carolina before hanging up his skates after the 2000-2001 season. He played his last 2 years in the IHL, which was a minor league back then. 329 career NHL games, a 3.12 goals against average, and an 8.96 save percentage for his career. The inspiring thing, though, about Mark Fitzpatrick is the way he was able to overcome an illness that almost killed him, and really was able to get himself back on track and play some outstanding hockey. So Mark Fitzpatrick, not a small goalie by any stretch of the imagination, 6'2", almost 200 pounds. That was a good size for a goalie back then. Now, the disease he had, eosinophilia myalgia syndrome, and I hope I even came close to pronouncing it. That's a fatal neurological disease. He missed almost all of the 90-91 season while he was with the Islanders, but was able to come back and won the Bill Masterton Trophy in 91-92 when he did return. He was very inspirational and, again, sort of a very solid goalie for the Islanders in the early 90s. We go back and look at one of Mark Fitzpatrick's better games with the Isles, December 5th, 1989, at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. The Buffalo Sabres come to town. Darren Pupa, the goalie for Buffalo. Mark Fitzpatrick, of course, the Islanders netminder. And in the first period, it was the Islanders getting on the board first. Brad Lauer, his third from Pat Flatley and Joe Reekie at 11:23. Isles won. And the Buffalo Sabres, nothing. In the second period, the Islanders add to their advantage. Randy Wood, his seventh from Gerald Diddick and Pat LaFontaine at 18:12. 2-0 Islanders after 2 periods. And in the third, it was tight game. Some great goaltending by Fitzpatrick to keep Buffalo off the board until Hubie McDonough potted an empty net goal at 19:20, his fifth. Don Maloney and Jeff Norton with the assists, and the Islanders beat Buffalo by a score of 3-0. For Mark Fitzpatrick, 32 saves to earn the shutout, and the Islanders were outshot 32-26, but Fitzpatrick was outstanding in this game. And, Doug Bodger had 5 shots on goal. Christian Rutu had 4 for Buffalo. And some great names, Dave Andrechuk, Phil Housley, Benoit Hogue, all on that team. And yet and Pierre Turgeon, I forgot almost, all on that team. And yet in this game, the Islanders and Mark Fitzpatrick able to keep them at bay. So certainly for the Islanders, Fitzpatrick with a great performance in this game and able to lead the Islanders to victory. And more importantly, the inspiration that Fitzpatrick provided, in addition to his stellar goaltending, makes him a memorable New York Islander. So we are a day late, but happy 54th birthday to former Islanders netminder Mark Fitzpatrick. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Islanders gotta win tonight. Important for this team to start putting together wins. And, overall, they've done that more or less. But the consistency still has me concerned. And I really, really want to see the Islanders put together a solid 60-minute effort, and we haven't seen that. Even the good games, the wins against Calgary and the Rangers and the Avalanche, there are 1 to 2 periods of hockey where the Islanders just aren't at their best and they're being thoroughly outplayed. Again, no team dominates for 60 minutes. That's not the way it works. The other team gets paid too, and other teams have very good hockey players as well. But the Islanders need to not be stuck in their own zone for extensive periods of time, and they need to be able to play their style of hockey and be effective at it. They're not doing that efficiently or consistently right now, and they've got to do that if they want to continue to stay at or near the top of the Metropolitan Division standings. 10-6 through 16 games. That is solid, and hopefully that will continue for the Islanders as they move forward. But again, Ottawa, a team you're supposed to beat, and the Islanders need to find a way to do that and pick up the 2 points again. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Don't forget, 5:30 Eastern time start for this game. So make sure that you're aware of that, and don't tune in at 7 o'clock or 7:30 expecting to see the beginning of the game and just catch the end. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the game. Stay safe. And, of course, let's go Islanders.